Welcome to part 2 in a series on a junkyard 5.3 LS motor teardown. In this video I'm going to show you how to remove the harness and get this thing down to a long block. One thing I want to make crystal clear before I go on though is this engine is basically a very expensive and heavy paperweight unless you can reprogram the PCM and remove the anti-theft system. If you can't do that, then the engine won't start. And one of my goals is to do this as absolutely inexpensive or cheap as I can. So I wouldn't even take this project on. I wouldn't have bought this motor if I couldn't reprogram the PCM myself. So because I can reprogram the PCM myself, I've created a separate video series called LS Tuning for Beginners. So I'm going to refer you to that series if you want to know how to reprogram PCMs by yourself or do it yourself. I wouldn't even bother to attempt this project, wouldn't bought the engine, because I consider the software products out there, HP Tuners and EFI Live, I won't say rip-offs, but I just disagree with the high price they charge, upwards of $400 or $500 for one car. They're VIN locks, so you have to pay more money for each PCM you program. But like I say, up until 2 years ago, I wouldn't have attempted this project, but 2 years ago, some free software came out that allows you to flash and tune these PCMs. So now I'm up for the challenge. So going forward, keep in mind that everything I do with this project, I'm going to do myself. I'm not going to be farming out PCM programming to somebody else for $300, $400, $500, which I think is ridiculous. To me, it sort of puts these retrofit engine projects out of reach for most people. So especially when you got to consider you might pay $500, $600 for the engine, then another $500 for the PCM program. You're pushing $1,000. It's just not worth it to me. So let's go ahead and show this now. So far what I've done since the last video, which was basically the full engine, I removed the exhaust manifolds on both sides and stuffed paper towels in the outlets to keep dirt out. If I find this engine is pretty clean inside, I may just button it back up and run it just like it is. Generally I like to tear the engine down completely and clean it up, if not rebuild it. But so keeping that in mind, I'm trying to keep the dirt out as going forward as I can. So I'm taking the exhaust manifolds off on this side and also on this side. It's a little dark over here, but you can see the paper towels in there. Then I walk around to the front, and by the way, I've got it mounted on the engine stand in my workshop. On the front, I pull the water pump off, the air conditioner, and then the air conditioner mounting bracket, and the power steering pump bracket. And I did have to, in order to free the harness up from that bracket, there was a little metal tab on it. I bent it out and just pulled some of the wires out of there. This bracket here, I'm just going to find it, was bolted. That was bolted to the side of that bracket. I removed the two bolts and pulled this loose. So basically, right now I'm in a long block with a harness on it, and I didn't want to take the harness off because I wanted to kind of show what's going on here. It may looks like a mess, but it's really not. These long bolts here, I think this wire here ran to the battery positive, and most of your longer wires ran down along the front of the engine across and over to the passenger side for the crankshaft position sensor, the starter, oil level sending unit, or oil level sender sensor over there. And I think that was about it along the bottom. Along the back and the top, this wire here ran along the firewall. That's what those clips are. Those clips right here, clipped on studs coming out of the firewall. I believe these two are air conditioner, the accumulator and high and low pressure switch, or low pressure switch on air AC. And then you keep on running, and then this wire here got cut. That was going to the rear oxygen sensors and maybe something else along the passenger frame. I'll figure out what that was later. And then this wire here kept going. This went around. That was your MAF sensor connector. And I believe that was something in the coolant. Maybe that was the coolant level switch or coolant level sensor in the overflow tank. But that's about it for the harness. So going along the engine, you got let's start right here. You've got your, this was the alternator connector with the back of the alternator. This is your connector for the canister purge or evaporative emission purge on top of the intake up there. And coming along here, you got the ignition. This is a connector for the ignition system. That would be the 4 coil packs on this side. and that comes off as a unit. You don't need to unwire that. And then going down, you've got 4 separate injector connectors on the 4 injectors on the driver's side, and they must be connected back on in the same place. And it's not hard to do because the length of the wires and location sort of dictates where they went. But if you want to feel safe, you can mark them 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 3, 5, 7, however you want to call it. Then going around, then this is another. This got cut. This is going back along the top of the engine, and this went down along the transmission to the side of the transmission. This was your transmission harness. It was cut when I got there, so not too worried about that. I'm going to be running a Turbo Hydromatic 350, which is right there on the floor. On the back of the engine, you got your let's see, you got your cam. I know this is your camshaft position sensor here. This is some kind of that's an oil pressure sending unit there. And you got a couple of harness grounds. You got the body engine to body ground there, and then this was a harness ground there, and then another harness ground here on this side, running up to the harness. That's on the back. Now up on the top, you got your map sensor connector, your knock sensor connector, and then running over here on this side, again, you have a repeat of the 4 injectors, a repeat of the ignition connector, and then continuing forward. Since this is an electronic, you can't hardly see that because of the dark, but that's an injector connector down there. And then you've got your electronic throttle connector. This is a drive-by-wire throttle body. So this harness is made into your fuel injection system harness. It actually, those wires will probably actually come back out of the harness to this plug right here. This is the plug that was plugged into the throttle position module that was mounted on the firewall. So I'm pretty sure those wires are a straight shot, except for maybe a power wire too that went back to the fuse panel connector. So all the power for this entire fuel injection system came out of this block. I think they call it the C block in the bottom of the fuse block. So I just unbolted and pulled it out of the bottom, and I didn't get the whole fuse block because I'll be deleting some of these wires and pulling them together, putting fuses in, and then powering up my harness separately. Again, my harness was already cut when I got it. This is where the ECM was going. So this being a 2004, I have a hunch. In 2004, I have a hunch it was what's called a P59 PCM, or 1 megabyte PCM, or what they also call a green-blue connector PCM. And for that reason, I also bought a green-blue PCM out of a junkyard the other day, in addition to this engine purchase, so that I can maybe translate these wire colors to the green-blue PCM standard. I'm also going to get a printout, possibly off of lt1.com, to see what these wire colors mean. But more than likely, I'm going to run this as on a P. I think it's called a P1 PCM, the old 411 half a megabyte PCM, because they're a little simpler, I think. So I'm just trying to make it as simple as I can. So I think I'm going to stop this video for now. I've got to use a connector special tool to release this fuel line. I cut the fuel line when I was at the junkyard, but I'll pull that loose. So I'm going to wrap this video up now, and what I'm about to do is disconnect all these harness connectors, take the harness off, and then I'm going to take the intake manifold off with 5 bolts on the driver's side, 5 bolts on the passenger side. Intake manifold will come off, and also I'm going to pull the ignition assembly off each valve cover, and what I should have left is a long block ready to be disassembled. And the first thing I'm going to do is drain the oil as best I can, flip it upside down, take the oil pan off, and see what condition the bearing's in. That's going to help me make my decision on whether to run it as is or rebuild it. And if I do rebuild it, I'm going to put in flat top pistons. I have some pistons from a 4.8 flat top pistons. Actually, not. They were from an L33 aluminum block, another LS motor project that I have, and one of the bores in that engine was bad, so I'm going to run. I can't use those pistons anymore, so I may run them in this. We'll see. Depends on how these bores are, but again, I'm going to keep disassembling this thing down to a long block, and I'll have another video when I get to the long block stage. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 3.